Indonesia's Mount Semeru erupts and spews hot ash clouds a mile into the sky, prompting authorities to raise the volcano's alert status to the highest level.
Houses and other buildings in Kajar Kuning village are covered in volcanic ash, and residents stay at temporary shelters following Mount Semeru's eruption. More details on this later in the news. Good evening. I'm CJ Hero.
And I am Nina Richie Alagao Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines.
Bicameral Conference Committee approves consolidated version of the 2023 national budget. Marcos administration downgrades growth target for next year. 2 more volcanoes unleash ash and rivers of lava. Iran abolishes morality police. And 2023 Philippine Faces of Success awards Net 25 and Mata ng Agila International.
The Senate has ratified the Bicameral Conference Committee report on the proposed 2023 national budget following its approval in the Bicam. Lawmakers said the proposed budget would be the driver in the Marcos administration's effort to recover the economy from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Mayan Corvera for the details.
The Bicameral Conference Committee has approved the consolidated version of the 5.268 trillion national budget for 2023. At the end of the deliberation, the 2 chambers have agreed to reinstate the 150 million peso confidential fund of the Department of Education. The Senate version was not victorious, where they cut the DepEd confidential fund to 30 million pesos and transferred the rest in their MOOE. The House panel said the funding was reinstated because the DepEd needed it.
Well, that's a decision of the House, the leadership na ituloy, no? Kasi mahirap mga kabataan natin na re-recruit sa maling papuntang landas. So we want the DepEd to spearhead. We want them to be secured, the future of our children.
However, the Confidential Intelligence Fund of other civilian agencies like Department of Justice, DSWD, DFA, and Office of the Ombudsman was reinstated. The Confidential Intelligence Fund has a total budget of 9 billion pesos. Senate Finance Committee Chairman Sani Angara said there is a provision in the General Appropriations Act that oblige agencies with CIF to submit a report on how and where did they use the fund.
There's a report that's required by COA for the intelligence reports. Nasa COA guidelines and it will be followed. Yeah, it's been modified ng konti, pero may report pa rin sa COA.
Aside from the CIF, the BICAM also reinstated the 10 billion peso budget of the National Task Force to End Local Communists or NTF-ELCAC. The allocation was lowered to 5 billion pesos in the Senate version due to a low utilization rate and no clear report on how the money was utilized. The House and Senate leadership assured the 2023 national budget will be the driver in the Marcos administration efforts to recover the economy from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Pagtaas po ng 2023 budget ay 4% lamang kung ikumpara sa 22 budget. Masasabi natin yung 4% na yon ay makakatulong sa ating ekonomiya sapagkat yun ay tulad ng nabanggit ni chairman ko ay productive spending. Igagastos po sa edukasyon, sa infrastruktura na magpapalaki o magpapaganda ng ating ekonomiya at magbibigay ng trabaho sa ating mga kababayan.
Aside from education and infrastructure, the Congress allotted funding for social services such as the free transport fare, additional cash assistance to senior citizens, financial aid to unemployed workers, and the continuation of the conditional cash transfer program under Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program.
Bridges yung nasira sa calamity, and also for the repair of school buildings which have been damaged 2 years ago pa, yung sa Odette, sa Siargao, sa Dinagat. no? And now with our recent typhoon, no? So we allocated 10 billion pesos para magawa kaagad ng DPWH since sila ang pinakamabilis na infrastructure na we have been receiving complaints on the delayed in the implementation, the OCD. So we put an additional 10 billion for the repair of school buildings and lahat na bridges damaged by the calamity.
Congress also appropriated funding for the vaccine procurement, but it will be up to the Department of Health to prioritize depending on the public's necessity.
It's more, ang phrasing niya mas general na ngayon. Kasi ang sinasabi ng health experts natin, meron tayong mga, ano tawag doon, pag bumabalik na yung mga malaria, yung mga ganon. So may freedom yung DOH na kung hindi na kailangan sa COVID, ililipat nila sa ibang sakit.
But it's still uncertain whether healthcare workers would receive in full their allowances and benefits under the proposed budget. Mayan Corvera for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
House Speaker Martin Romualdez lauded both the House and the Senate panels following the bicameral conference committee approval of the proposed 5.268 trillion peso 2023 national budget. Romualdez said the House would immediately ratify in the plenary the final version of the proposed budget, which aims to help the government recover from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic and other calamities that hit the country. Romualdez assured that before the holiday break on December 17, Congress would be able to submit the enrolled bill for the signature of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.
The Marcos administration has scaled back its growth target for 2023. In a tweet, Socio-Economic Planning Secretary and Director General Arsenio Balisacan of the National Economic and Development Authority, or NEDA, said the government has downgraded its Philippine Gross Domestic Product, or GDP, growth to 6 to 7% from its previous forecast of 6.5 to 8%. Balisacan cited both domestic challenges and external headwinds, including global growth slowdown. The NEDA chief remains optimistic that at this level, the Philippine economy remains among the bright stars in Asia. From 2024 onwards, the administration's economic team projects the economic growth to accelerate by 6.5 to 8%.
Motorists can expect good news on Tuesday. That's tomorrow, December 6. Oil companies announced another round of oil price rollback starting 6 o'clock in the morning. In separate advisories, Pilipinas Shell and Petron Corporation said they will lower pump prices by 1 peso and 95 centavos per liter of gasoline, 1 peso and 90 centavos per liter of diesel, and 1 peso and 65 centavos per liter of kerosene. The downward movement of prices is due to the impact of China lockdowns on demand, higher inventories, and successive interest rate hikes in the United States.
Today, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. led the simultaneous distribution of housing units to more than 30,000 beneficiaries. To address the government's housing backlog of 6.5 million housing units, the president said the administration is eyeing to build mid-rise and high-rise buildings, particularly in urban areas. Eden Santos reports.
The Marcos administration is considering building high-rise housing units to address the current backlog in the country. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. said the move would also catch up with the rising need for decent shelter. The president made a statement during the ceremonial turnover of house and lot units from the National Housing Authority in Nai, Cavite. Marcos said upon his assumption to office, the government estimates the housing shortfall as 6.5 million, a far more than the 3.5 million housing units shortfall when he was then chairman of the Senate Housing and Urban Development Committee. The president said the government might replicate the Bliss Project during his mother's time as Minister of Human Settlement, which spearheaded the construction of mid-rise housing units, particularly in urban areas.
Yung project ng Bliss, dyan nag-umpisa ang mid-rise na ilang 5 stories, 6 stories na building. At mukha namang maganda. At marami talagang kumuha, nagkaroon sila ng sarili nilang tirahan. Ngunit ngayon, dahil mahirap na, siguro baka pataasin pa natin. Baka pwede na natin itaas hanggang high-rise na. Ngunit pinag-aaralan natin to, siguro case-to-case ito.
The president said the government would ensure that housing units would be provided with adequate facilities and not far away from work.
Pero ang aming tinitignan, the travel time mula sa bahay hanggang sa trabaho ay hindi dapat lalampas ng 1 oras. Dapat may malapit na eskwelahan para sa mga bata. Dapat may malapit na palengke o maliit na mall na para makapagbili ng mga pangangailangan ng mga pamilya. Lahat ito ay pinagsasabay-sabay. Kaya human settlements ang mga tinatayo natin. Kaya yan ang ating hangarin na masabi natin na nasimulan man lang ang low-cost housing, ang socialized housing para sa mga nangangailangan na ating kababayan at hindi makahanap ng kanilang sariling tirahan.
Marcos also directed the National Housing Authority to continue fulfilling its mandate and ensure that families receiving new homes are provided with means of livelihood. The president also asked the agency to build shelters that are strong enough to withstand the threat posed by natural calamities.
Hangarin natin na matiyak na may sapat na suporta ang lahat ng mga benepisyaryo ng mga bagong tirahang ito. Batid natin ang iba't ibang uri ng sakuna at problema dumadaan sa ating bayan. Kaya naman, napakahalaga na masiguro natin na ang mga bahay na ating itinatayo at ipinapamahagi ay mananatiling matibay at tatagal anuman ang maging lagay ng panahon.
The new housing units will serve as home to some 30,000 Filipino families from different parts of the country. The president led a simultaneous distribution of Certificate of Eligibility of Lot Allocation or CELA in 13 regions of the country. Addressing the beneficiaries in Naik Cavite, the president asked them to take care of and value their new homes and help improve their new community. President Marcos also asked for the cooperation of the LGU and the private sector to ensure the well-being of the beneficiaries in their new environment. Eden Santos reporting for Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Presidential son and Ilocos Norte Congressman Sandro Marcos allayed fears on the proposed Maharlika Investment Fund. Man Corvetta returns for the details.
Presidential son and Ilocos Norte Representative Ferdinand Sandro Marcos defended the proposed Maharlika Investment Fund from critics. The young Marcos said he sees no wrong and proposal is just being politicized. Similar proposals were made during the time of former President Benigno Noynoy Aquino and Rodrigo Duterte, but it was pursued because it was introduced in the latter part of their administration. Marcos denied allegations their proposal was railroaded because it goes through the right process.
And all these corporations already have investable funds. Hindi po galing sa pension, hindi po, it will be taken from the investable funds that are already there. Those corporations already invest into real and financial assets through those investable funds. They do not use the pension money. So instead of being used individually, those investable funds will just be pooled into the sovereign wealth fund. Hindi po hahawakan yung pension ng ating mga kababayan. I think that might have been just a misunderstanding or maybe it was political. The whole point of this, and you can see naman it's been politicized, but the whole point of this is that it is free from politics. It will be run like a private corporation, hopefully by technocrats that know what they're doing to be able to make sure that the government's money is used properly and invested the right way. It is going to be run from a private corporation free from politics.
Under House Bill number 6398, co-authored by the young Marcos, the government will be empowered to invest using 250 billion pesos funding from the government financial institutions or GFIs, including Social Security Service and Government Service Insurance System. Marcos said this would help spur the economy as he assured that the fund will not be managed by just a government agency. Aside from safeguards, that will be laid down to protect the funding.
If you look at the financial market of the Philippines, medyo matagal pa yung pagtakbo eh. It's still a very young financial market, so it would slow down the growth of it's called assets under management. It would slow down the growth of the assets under management within that fund.
Batangas Representative Ralph Recto favored the proposal for government to invest but not outside the country. He added that the investment should be limited to internal projects like new airports, seaports, and other private-public partnership projects.
Kung nandito, mas mahirap na kawin yan. Kung ilalabas, baka mawala lang yan. Para nangyari sa 1MDB, di ba? Sa Malaysia. Kung dito, halimbawa, toll road, nakikita mo, nagagamit ng taong bayan. At kung yan naman kumita at pupunta sa pensyon natin, bakit hindi? Nakapaglikha ng trabaho, nakapagbigay ng economic growth, halimbawa. So yan, mga paraan na yan, siguro pa pwede yan.
The Senate has yet to file a counterpart bill on Maharlika Investment Fund proposal. But Senator Bongo said in any case that this will be filed in the Senate, it would be better to have an intensive debate on the proposal. Go said the Senate should ensure that any funding owned by the public should be protected before the government invests it.
Importante po dito, ang tanong is who will manage? Sino po magdadala? It should be a good manager talaga na walang masasayang na pondo. Di ba yung pondo po ipupul mula sa iba't ibang financial institutions. Ngunit ang tanong dito is paano i-manage ng maayos, walang hindi mapupolitika, walang pabor-pabor, saan mapupunta, at paano po palaguin itong Maharlika Fund na ito.
May Ann Corvera for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
The uptick in the COVID-19 positivity rate is seen not only in Metro Manila, but also in 12 other provinces in the country. In a tweet, Dr. Research Fellow Dr. Guido David said the National Capital Region, or NCR's positivity rate increased further to 12.4% on December 3 from 11.1% on November 26. The 12 areas with an uptick in cases include Bataan, Cagayan, Camarines Sur, Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur, Laguna, Nueva Ecija, Pampanga, Quezon, Rizal, and Zambales. Nueva Ecija logged the recent highest positivity rate at 39.1%, up from 32.9% on November 26. Camarines Sur placed second with 38.8%, followed by Isabela with 38.6%. Batangas logged the lowest positivity rate of 5.2% on December 3 from the previous 5.4% on November 26.
The Department of Health commenced its three-day Bakunahang Bayan kontra COVID-19 or mass vaccination against COVID-19. The Health Department will prioritize inoculating minors aged 5 to 17 years old. Data from the DOH showed that only 5.3 million or 48.9% out of the 10.8 million target population from the age group are inoculated. For the age group 12 to 17 years old, more than 10 million are fully vaccinated, which is more than the 8.9 million target population. But booster vaccinations remain low at 1.08 million individuals. In Manila, one of the venues for the mass vaccination is the Tondo Foreshore Lying-in Clinic, led by DOH National Capital Region Director that's Gloria Balboa. For NCR, they are targeting to inoculate 529,000 from the age group 5 to 11 years old and 158,000 individuals from the age group 12 to 17 years old.
Dahil nakumpisa na rin ang pasok, so dapat lang talagang mapupunahan. Yung mga school children na yan, yun yung maganda naman na may agreement with DepEd na excuse sila. Kasi siyempre ito
The DOH added that individuals from other age groups of the population are welcome to be inoculated in the mass vaccination campaign. Coming up, Iran abolishes morality police. China defends its COVID policy as it eases strict virus measures. And North Korea fires artillery barrage into buffer zone. Mata ng Agila International. We'll be right back after the short break.
Meet Sanem, ang funny, charming at daydreamer na anak ng maselan sa kalinisan na si Halimi. At Nihat na super devoted sa kanyang wifey. Muntik nang ipakasal si Sanem sa overconfident na si Zephyr Chet. Iwas kasal si Sanem, kaya napilitang magtrabaho kasama ang kanyang supladang ice queen na kapatid na si Leila, na assistant ng hardworking head of finance at anak ng CEO, si Emre. Pero wait, may masamang balak yata ang ambisyosa at nagpapanggap na ex ni Emre na si Aileen. Good thing saved by the bell si daddy ng cool at dashing na si Chan, na nagbabalik sa company para suportahan ng dad nilang CEO na si Aziz. Naguguluhan ka na ba? No worries. Pati si Sanem, naguguluhan na rin. Buti na lang, full support ang work bestie niyang si Che. At ang BFF niyang si Aihan, na laging updated sa mga kaganapan. Dahil may something going on kina Sanem at Chan, curious ka na rin ba? Kilalanin sila sa Daydreamer, ang bagong kilig-seryeng magpapasaya sa gabi nyo. Starting December 12 at 7:30 p.m. Dito lang sa Net25.
Panalo tayo pag together, walang talo pag together, let's stand together sa Net25.
This portion
The news continues here on Mata ng Agila International. Authorities said a landslide engulfed a road in Colombia Sunday, killing 3 people and leaving some 20 trapped in the mud. In the municipality of Pueblo Rico, northwest Colombia, rescuers searched for people riding on a bus and motorcycle that were caught up in the accident. In a tweet, President Gustavo Petro confirmed the number of dead and trapped people, adding that 9 were rescued and clarified that what happened was a tragedy. Additionally, civil defense officials announced one of the dead was a girl aged about 7. Meanwhile, one survivor said the driver of the bus managed to swerve the worst of the landslide. According to the government, Colombia's worst rainy season in 40 years began this August, which caused accidents that left more than 270 people dead.
2 more volcanoes have come to life, one in Indonesia, the other in Chile. On Sunday, villagers fled their homes in panic as Indonesia's Mount Semeru blew its top. The eruption sent hot ash clouds a mile into the sky. Rivers of lava ran down the mountainside. Nearby villages were evacuated. The volcano is located about 800 kilometers south of the capital of Jakarta on Indonesia's main island of Java. So far, there have been no reports of casualties. Last year, at least 51 people were killed when Mount Semeru erupted. Meanwhile, in southern Chile, the Villarrica volcano has rumbled to life. Authorities have issued a yellow alert and are monitoring the volcano's activity. So far, there have been no significant changes in gas emissions or thermal anomalies.
A gas explosion ripped through a 5-story apartment block in the city of Nizhnevartovsk in western Siberia, Russia, on Sunday. The emergency services say the blast killed 6 people. According to Emergency Minister Alexander Kurenkov, A leak from a gas tank was the cause of the blast, adding that one of the residents complained to a neighbor about the smell of gas shortly before the incident. The building did not have a central gas heating system, and residents relied on gas tanks to cook food. As per the report of regional emergency officials, 15 were injured while 52 residents were evacuated. The region's top health officials said the low temperature made it difficult to clear the rubble and that 2 people are in critical condition. So far, those who lost their homes or evacuated have been temporarily placed in schools.
After 2 months of unrest, Iran's Attorney General says the country is abolishing its morality police. The country has endured 2 months of protests over the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini, who died after being arrested by the morality police for violating Iran's dress code. Late Saturday, the Attorney General was quoted as saying the morality police have nothing to do with the judiciary and have been abolished. The move is a rare concession to the protest movement. Authorities have also acknowledged the demoralizing effect of an economic crisis spurred by U.S. sanctions. But the news has been treated with skepticism by some Iranians on social media. They fear the role will be taken over by another unit. In the past 2 months, more than 300 people have been killed in the unrest and thousands more have been arrested.
China's foreign ministry defends its COVID measures, saying they have protected people's lives. The ministry also asserts that China continued to optimize and improve its policies according to the development of the epidemic situation. After a series of nationwide protests regarding the easing of the zero COVID policy, businesses reopened and testing requirements were relaxed in Beijing and other Chinese cities on Monday. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning also insists that since the pandemic occurred, the safety of its people was the focus of the country's government. Ning says that to the greatest extent to protect people, they also tried to reduce the epidemic's impact on social and economic development of the people of China. The spokeswoman also reports that China's COVID-19 severe symptom rate and death rate remain at a relatively low level globally, adding that the facts prove that in recent years, China's epidemic prevention and control policies are scientific and effective.
Seoul's military says North Korea has fired a new salvo of artillery shells into a maritime buffer zone on Monday. In a statement, the South's Joint Chiefs of Staff confirms that about 130 artillery rounds were simultaneously fired at 2:59 p.m. from 2 separate sites, one on North Korea's east coast and one on the west coast. The JCs says that though none of the Pyongyang shells crossed the northern limit line, the newest barrage is a clear violation of the 2018 agreement between the North and the South. The said agreement established the buffer zone along land and sea boundaries in a bid to reduce tensions between the two nations. Seoul's military has also issued several warnings over the barrage, yet it did not give further details. North Korea, however, claimed the barrage was a tit-for-tat warning against what it described as multiple artillery firings by the South. The JCS did not mention any exercises, but local reports say that South Korean and U.S. militaries were conducting firing drills in the area.
Venezuelan authorities have declared a state of emergency in 5 states of the country after the discovery of bird flu in some species of wild poultry. The declaration is in effect for 90 days. Science Minister Gabriela Jimenez says containment measures are in effect in those areas and could be expanded to other regions if the virus spreads. Authorities have also banned the transport of live poultry and eggs from places where the infection has been confirmed. It is believed that the virus originated from birds that migrated from the northern hemisphere. Ecuador has also posted a similar state of emergency.
Left-wing activists and trade unionists took to the streets of Rabat in Morocco on Sunday to protest against rising prices and the repression of freedom of expression. People from across the country converged outside Parliament to protest. Journalists estimated the crowd at about 3,000. Police estimates were half of that. Activists also demonstrated against what they say is a government that embodies the marriage of money and power. According to a government report, the impact of the pandemic and inflation has put poverty in the country back to levels seen in 2014. Food prices as well have soared because of an ongoing drought affecting farmlands.
Environment and Energy Security Minister Gilberto Pichetto Fratin says Italy is still reliant on Russian natural gas, which it continues to import despite calls in the EU for a ban. In an interview, Pichetto Fratin confirms that 250 million cubic meters of gas entered Italy the previous day. He says that another 30 million cubic meters of gas are still coming from Russia. The energy minister justifies Italy's energy transition plan and argues Russia continues to have an interest in exporting gas. He says that Italy will make it through the winter. Yet Pichetto Fratin also expresses a concern that from May next year, they have to fill their stocks again to cover the next winter season in Italy. Italy, like other EU countries, has been battling high inflation due to rising energy costs. At the start of this year, Italy received 40% of its gas from Russia. Yet the imports later plunged due to sanctions on Russia and reported sabotage of the Nord Stream pipeline.
Later in the news, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky wins Financial Times Person of the Year for 2022. White House slams former U.S. President Donald Trump's call for termination of Constitution. And European Commission President says EU must take action against the U.S. Matandang Agila International will be back. Please stay tuned.
Ang funny, charming at daydreamer na anak ng maselan sa kalinisan na si Halimi. At Nihat na super devoted sa kanyang wifey. Muntik nang ipakasal si Sanem sa overconfident na si Zeperchet. Iwas kasal si Sanem, kaya napilitang magtrabaho kasama ang kanyang supladang ice queen na kapatid na si Leila, na assistant ng hardworking head of finance at anak ng CEO, si Emre. Pero wait, may masamang balak yata ang ambisyosa at nagpapanggap na ex ni Emre na si Aileen. Good thing saved by the bell si daddy ng cool at dashing na si Chan, na nagbabalik sa company para suportahan ng dad nilang CEO na si Aziz. Naguguluhan ka na ba? No worries. Pati si Sanem, naguguluhan na rin. Buti na lang, full support ang work bestie niyang si Cheche. At ang BFF niyang si Aihan, na laging updated sa mga kaganapan. Dahil may something going on kina Sanem at Chan, curious ka na rin ba? Kilalanin sila sa Daydreamer, ang bagong kilig-seryeng magpapasaya sa gabi nyo. Starting December 12 at 7:30 p.m. Dito lang sa Net25.
Panalo tayo pag together, wala talo pag together, let's get together sa Net25.
This portion is...
The Financial Times has named the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, as its Person of the Year 2022. According to FT's Twitter account, the 44-year-old president has earned a place in history for his extraordinary display of leadership and fortitude. It also lauded Zelensky's decision to remain in Kyiv rather than accept an evacuation offer in one of the most consequential moments of the war. In an interview with Financial Times, Zelensky said he is more responsible than brave and does not like to let people down.
Ukrainian refugees arriving in Wales on the Welsh government sponsorship scheme will soon have to start paying for some meals and their laundry. News sources say refugees received a letter detailing the new policy from First Minister Mark Drakeford. Local reports claim the new policy could affect as many as 1,500 people. The refugees are currently staying in hotel rooms, holiday parks, and other temporary accommodations. They must begin to pay on their own way and are required to either accept the government's offer or of more permanent housing or face a weekly fine of 25 to 37 pounds for a family of 4 or larger. Though the policy is allegedly not designed to save money, it cuts the offers of free laundry services, toiletries, sanitary products, and even pet food and vet bills. Yet the government says the new policy will help refugees integrate into the community by encouraging them to arrange for their own clothes to be cleaned and to pay for at least one meal a day.
Former President Donald Trump's suggestion that the United States disregards rules and regulations, including those found in the Constitution, has drawn a sharp rebuke from politicians in both parties. The proposal came in Trump's latest social media post that hammered away at baseless conspiracy theories about the 2020 election. In his rant on Truth Social, he refers to himself as the rightful winner of the election and says he should be returned to power. Trump lost to Joe Biden by 7 million votes, but continues to say Biden won key states through electoral fraud. White House spokesman Andrew Bates says the Constitution is a sacrosanct document, adding you cannot only love America when you win. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says Trump is out of control and a danger. Adam Kinzinger, one of only a few Republicans who voted to impeach Trump, says not a single conservative can legitimately support him, calling the former president's remarks insane. Other Republican members of Congress objected to the remarks, with many saying it's time to stop focusing on the grievances of past elections.
Good news, travelers. The European Commission has ruled that airlines can provide 5G technology on board planes. This means that airline passengers in the European Union will soon be able to use their phones to full effect in the sky, particularly calls, music, and video apps. News sources say the new rule could also mean that flyers will no longer be required to put their phones on airplane mode. Thierry Breton, EU Commissioner for the Internal Market, says the plan would enable innovative services for people. It can also help European companies grow. The deadline for member states to make the 5G frequency bands available for planes is on June 30, 2023.
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen warns that to be able to compete with the U.S. government's subsidized green industry, the EU must take action and step up state aid to its own companies. RT News says von der Leyen sees the U.S. President Joe Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, or IRA, as a threat to Europe's industry. Biden's IRA is a $738 billion spending package that allocates $391 billion toward green energy and climate-friendly industry projects, including $270 billion in tax incentives. Von der Leyen says IRA's provision of tax breaks could lead to unfair competition, could close markets, and thus fragment critical supply chains. According to RT News, von der Leyen has declared that competition between the U.S. and EU must respect a level playing field.
Edward Snowden, a former National Security Agency contractor, has sworn an oath of allegiance to Moscow and has received his Russian passport. Snowden is wanted by Washington on espionage charges. Reports say he leaked information about U.S. surveillance programs and other secret files. But Snowden argues that his actions were in the interests of the United States. Russia granted Snowden the right of asylum with an initial visa for residence for 1 year. Russia repeatedly extended its grant to Snowden. News sources say Snowden's wife, Lindsay Mills, is also applying for Russian citizenship. Coming right Tied up. Australia starts building momentous radio telescope. And the 2023 Philippine Faces of Success Awards Net 25 and Mata ng Agila International. More international stories coming your way when we return.
Ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba, sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. May lalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa New Era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Naging background dancer ni Vilma
Yung mga gumaganon.
Anong secret?
Number one secret is Scarlett. I want to be with her. So I kept praying, Lord, please give me time.
Tissue, please. Pwede kumuyain ngayon yan?
Yeah.
Ang dami na ngayong mga artista ang nakakapasok sa lehislatura.
That's part of democracy, hindi ba?
Raymond, I love the dog. So you're in love.
Yes.
What do you call this dish?
It's an Indian dish.
Gisa-gisa pag may time. Lahat ng yan at maraming iba pa, watch out for it here on Corina Interviews.
Australia started building a vast network of antennas in the outback. It's section of what planners say will eventually become one of the most powerful radio telescopes in the world. After the delays, funding issues, and diplomatic jockeying since the early 1990s, antennas in Australia and a network of dishes in South Africa are set to form a square-kilometre array, or SKA, when completed. According to telescope director Sarah Pierce, the project will follow the birth and death of galaxies, searching for new types of gravitational waves and expanding the boundaries of what people know about the universe. For his part, SKA Observatory's Director General Philip Diamond described the beginning of its construction as momentous, adding that the telescope will be one of humanity's biggest ever scientific endeavors. The organization's plan was to build more than 130,000 tree-shaped antennas in Western Australia, specifically on the traditional lands of the Wajari Aboriginal people.
And now for some NBA news. Last night, Anthony Davis and the Los Angeles Lakers came to the U.S. Capitol and earned a 130-119 victory over the Washington Wizards. Our correspondent Ken Cruz was there for the action.
Los Angeles Lakers came here to town, here in D.C., to play the Washington Wizards. And wow, did a Anthony Davis have an amazing game. 55 points, 17 rebounds, and 3 blocks, while LeBron James had 29 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. For the Wizards, Kyle Kuzma had 26 points and 7 rebounds. Kristaps Porzingis had 27 points and 9 boards. But absolutely, the player of the game, the player pretty much of the last 10 games has been Anthony Davis, who has been extremely healthy, and he was even hearing MVP chants here in Capitol Arena.
You know, the games might be tougher than others, but you know, we always come in with the mindset that we have to win. You know, we put ourselves in a hole. You know, we're making up ground, but we got to continue to come out and take it a game at a time. You know, took care of Milwaukee, took care of DC. You know, our next focus is on Cleveland, and going there with a mindset trying to get a win. You know, it's hard to win on the road. You know, it's hard to win the league, and we know that. But we got guys who just come out and compete every night and, you know, follow the game plan and let the rest take care of itself.
Got to ask you about your thoughts on AD's 55. I mean, it's a great game, but it's a great streak. I mean, what clicked? Obviously, it's health, but what else?
I mean, that's the key. You know, whenever he's healthy, feeling great about his body, you see those types of performances. And so it's just been fun to watch, fun to be a part of, great for our ball club. And the guys really being inspired by his performances and really wanting to see him thrive and excel at that level. Like we all know, we all kind of have an ideal of what he's gone through the last couple of years, battling through all of those injuries and being out, being on the floor. Like, so for him to come out like he's come out this season and sustain it and just get better and better and better, deeper in rhythm, it's been a joy to watch.
Ken Cruz, Washington, D.C., Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The knockout stages of the World Cup in Qatar have gone underway as Lionel Messi leads Argentina to the next round. Our UK correspondent Keith Dimabuyu reports.
Lionel Messi produced a moment of trademark quality to score the opener in a 2-1 win over Australia and send Argentina into the quarterfinals of the World Cup on Saturday. Messi's 789th goal in his 1,000th career appearance, but first in the knockout rounds of the World Cup, helped set up a last-8 clash with the unbeaten Netherlands on Friday. Julian Alvarez scored the other in the 57th minute after some calamitous Australian defending before Enzo Fernandez's 77th minute own goal set up an unexpectedly nervy finale. Australia's yellow-shirted fans were vastly outnumbered among the packed crowd at the 45,000 capacity Ahmad bin Ali Stadium and were drowned out by Argentina's boisterous, bellowing and bouncing supporters. The Socceroos looked dead and buried, but substitute Goodwin lashed onto a loose clearance and his shot hit Fernandez and ricocheted in with 13 minutes left. Teenager Garang Kiol then forced Argentina goalkeeper Emiliano Martinez into a desperate save deep in the injury time before the massed ranks of South American fans celebrated a big win. From the United Kingdom, this is Keith Dimabuyu for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
The 2023 Philippine Faces of Success has recognized Net25 as the Philippines' Best Quality Brand 2023 Outstanding TV Network. The group also awarded the network's personalities for their outstanding qualities. Net25 President Cesar Vallejos was recognized as Asia's most outstanding sales and marketing director in the entertainment industry. He also hosts Net25's business show, Open for Business. Mata ng Agila International was accorded the Philippines' Best Quality Brand, Best Late Night Newscast, and its anchors CJ Hero and yours truly were both awarded as Asia's most exceptional beauty queen and news anchor of the year. Kada Umaga host Diana Meneses was also recognized as an outstanding TV host.
Una ay nagpapasalamat kami sa lahat ng mga award-giving bodies a great inspiration, not only to the people who are working very hard to produce these programs, but also it is a testament that, hey, we are creating that big difference in the industry. That's why to be part of the Faces of Success, ito ay nakakataba ng puso. Ang mga awards na ito ay nagbibigay ng patunay na ang mga programa ng Net25 ay talagang hindi lamang kaabang-abang, kundi high quality.
I think this is one of the best years for me, especially after coming from pandemic, 'di ba? Parang ang hirap nung itong nakaraan. I went through a lot, so sobrang masaya ako ngayon. Kaya thank you also Net25.
Net25 is a network dedicated to creating quality and timely programs for the benefit of each member of the Filipino family.
Now, the birthday cake for this animal would require a lot of candles. Meet Jonathan, the Seychelles giant tortoise. Jonathan is celebrating his 190th birthday, more or less, and is believed to be the oldest living land animal. His age has been estimated on shell measurements. Scientists figure he was hatched sometime around 1832. He was brought to the UK from the Seychelles 50 years later. He now lives out his retirement on the remote South Atlantic island of St. Helena in the official residence of the governor. On Sunday, his birthday was marked with a special cake made out of his favorite food: carrots, lettuce, cucumber, apples, and pears. While they hope he has many more years left, authorities have already made plans for when he passes. His shell will be preserved for posterity. And to help you start the week, here is a quote from American dancer Lena Horne. It is not the load that breaks you down. It is the way you carry it.
We don't have enough hands.
We don't have enough hands for
All right.
Well, thank you so much, you guys, for recognizing Net25, for recognizing the show,
Mata ng Agila
and of course, for
International.
recognizing us. Thank you so much. Philippines' best quality brand.
Yes,
Faces of
we
Success.
are faces of success, you and I both.
Oh, but just going back to the quote that we said earlier, the same water, the same hot water that turns the egg hard is the same hot water that turns the potato soft.
That's
so,
true.
do not let the circumstances define you. Define the
Exactly.
circumstance. And that is a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. Thank you once again. I am CJ Hero.
Yes, thank you once again, Faces of Success. I'm Nina Richie Alago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.